as a minimum. Okay.
Can we give examples next time? Can we just
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
it like we-
And just in terms of what you've touched on already that might tie into this, the IDA model that you looked at previously, AIDA, race is effectively the same but for the digital space instead. And one really good example of that is, I believe we've looked at it already, or maybe in the content marketing session, there's a kind of imaginary customer journey that's set out that kind of weaves between online spaces and offline spaces, and that broadly kind of follows that race model, if I remember rightly. But yeah, certainly I can have a little think to see if there's another way we can demonstrate that to you potentially. But yeah, essentially it's the sales funnel, think of it that way.
So I'm going to do the innocent brand is looking to raise awareness and around the launch of a new flavor smoothie, right?
Yeah.
So we on the first part we recognize the needs and the problems, eventual problems and so on. So then when we focus on the launching of on the new flavor smoothies campaign.
I actually asked the
So, in terms of switching from what they've done already to what they're going to do now, I would say that really that starts to come in within the needs and problems analysis, because obviously their needs are determined by what they're going to do for this campaign. And then, much more specifically, it's from your objectives, your strategy tactics, how you demonstrate those strategies and tactics in terms of scheduling, timetabling, budgeting, things like that, and then obviously into your content examples. So that's mainly where the ideas around the new product range, new
So
campaigns come in.
basically, when you come up with the new campaigns,
Yeah.
you address the existing needs and problems and the new campaigns.
So, in
New
your
flavor
particular
smoothie.
case, what you will need to think about are what are the needs that are associated with the product that I am looking to promote. So, I suppose you could choose a product that's very closely connected to their existing target audiences, in which case you could base their needs analysis on just their digital environment as it currently
Existing
stands.
products.
Or you could come up with a product, and I don't want you to spend too much time on product. This isn't a product-based assessment, this is a marketing-based assessment. But if you came up with a new product, and let's say you were having to change their target segment somewhat, your needs analysis would be whilst thinking about the new campaign that you're looking to launch. So we talked about an example earlier on. Let's say innocent smoothies are mainly drunk by, and I'm just going to pull this off the top of my head, I would say probably purchased mainly by women aged between about 20 and 35, maybe something like that.
Why?
I mean-
Health consciousness, the branding is quite feminine in terms of its approach, things like this. I'm quite uncomfortable with the terms feminine and masculine within marketing. I think it's painting far too broad brush, but the nature of the beast is these things are still there and are still reflected in terms of results as well. But let's say the new product that I wanted to launch for Innocent was a protein-rich, pre-gym drink that was orientated towards your kind of gym bros, things like that, like 30 to 35-year-old men who are just obsessed with being at the gym, things like that. Then within your needs analysis, you would need to kind of identify how you would steer the brand from their old target audience, which might be women aged 20 to 35, to their new target audience, which might be men aged 30 to 35. So to a certain extent, what you're proposing, in terms of, in this case, their new product range, would determine what their needs and their problems are. Yeah? Any other questions before we wrap up?
Well, this risk and contingency is not clear.
Risks and contingencies. This is probably your main opportunity to discuss the disruptive digital environment. Okay? So remember what we talked about second half of week 1. This is where you talk about AI, blockchain, metaverse, anything else that is a current cutting edge trend within digital marketing that could have an impact on how you run your campaign. So I know it doesn't look significant. I know you're going to be exhausted when you get to this stage and not wanting to write any more. But really, this is worth about 20% of your marks overall. In terms of the sections where most students dropped most marks last trimester, it was this
But you
section.
can start with this one.
Sorry?
You can start with this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can start that already.
Start a conclusion.
Of course, risks and contingencies is in some way tied to your needs and problems from earlier on, okay? Once again, just a final reminder on this, don't talk to me about things that are already really common practice within digital marketing, okay? So don't, for example, say, well, someone could hack our website. Well, people have been able to hack websites for 10 or 15 years, well, much more than that, in fact. But talk to us about things that are current, that are really happening in the here and now, okay? Do a little pros cons maybe. So for example, AI might have some distinct advantages. It will help you produce content quicker. It will help increase the volume of content you're producing. It might give you new ideas that you hadn't thought of before. But the cons are that your competitors are going to be using AI too. And so therefore that diminishes your competitive advantage overall because you're all using the same systems and maybe they use that AI software better than you and go and use that to generate even more ideas, something like that. So what we want here is critical analysis of factors from the disruptive digital environment. Okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions before we wrap up today?
I know there's no word breakdown, it's kind of like.
Yeah, it's flexible.
It's flexible. So we'll
Indeed.
keep it flexible.
Do keep it flexible. Little word to the wise.
It's your choice.
Tables are your friend, okay, as are screenshots within this assessment. If the information is included within a table, I cannot count it towards your overall word count, okay?
It's easier to be honest.
So that makes your word count go further. Rather than writing out in long form text, BBC had 10,460 visitors over the course of the last year. Just show me a screenshot that says BBC 10,460 visitors over the course of the last
You'll end
year.
up with 100 pictures.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
That's exactly what they want.
So just remember that in terms of your word count itself, the most important thing you can show me is application of ideas, okay? So if you're saying such and such is or such and such does, you're probably being too descriptive in your writing. Instead, you want to say, in order to address objective number 2, we will use such and such a tactic and such a tactic because these tactics appeal to this particular customer segment who is the basis for this campaign. That's the type of tone that we're looking to adopt. So application, application, application. Use your screenshots, use your tables for the identification, and then describe, or sorry, not describe, apply within your written elements there.
Thank you, sir. Very productive day today.
Yeah.
In terms of campaign duration, you can pick. I would say generally you'd probably want
You pick up the